So a lot of you actually said yes to the DPP OU battles from Showdown, which is pretty great. I believe only about 3 or 4 people actually said no, which is actually a lot less than I thought would say no. So I was pretty happy about the reaction that I got from asking that question. And I do have another pretty important question I would like to ask at the end of the battle that I've heard a lot of people discuss about, and I want to hear what your guys' opinions are on the question that I would ask. Now, obviously, there is no team preview in 4th Gen, so I can't say what's going to be threatening on my opponent's side of the field. So with that, let's get right into the battle. And he's going to be leading off with the Heatran, as I'm going to be leading off with my Swampert. Right off the bat, I make a bit of a odd play, I guess you could say, because I don't get up my rocks, I just go straight for the Earthquake. And the reason I did this is because I want to be able to get rid of the Heatran. That way my Starmie, once I spin away the hazards, he will have nothing else that sets up hazards, hopefully. So that's going to be pretty good for me. And as he brings in the Breloom on my Swampert, obviously I don't want to take a possible C-Bomb, so I switch directly into my Metagross. As he makes a good play by going for the Substitute, I am then going to go for the Bullet Punch as he puts me to sleep, allowing me to get a free switch into my Gengar. But it turns out that he actually has Leech Seed, which is kind of good and bad for me. Bad for me because now this Breloom is going to be a little bit harder to take down. Good for me though, because once my Gengar gets a free Substitute up, this Breloom is going to be able to do nothing to my Gengar. So as I go for the U-turn, I'm going to get that very well needed free switch into Gengar, allowing me to get up a free Substitute, and he's going to make a good play by switching out as he brings in the Jirachi. The way he brought it in has me thinking maybe this is a special wall, which means he possibly doesn't have a Blissey, so that's some good information I can keep in my mind, and I can just go straight for the Shadow Ball. I do get a pretty lucky Spadef drop, but I know that he more than likely isn't going to want to switch out, so what I'm going to do is predict him to go for another Iron Head, and I'm going to go for the Stable, which luckily for me, he did go for the Iron Head and didn't go for like a Wish or a Thunder Wave, allowing me to get up another free Substitute, as I know he is going to want to switch out, and is going to bring in the Scizor, and I know Focus Blast won't be able to take it out, but I should do a pretty good amount of damage to it. Unfortunately though, I missed, and at the time, I was a bit bothered by that, but the miss really isn't game-changing, although having that bit of damage on the Scizor really would have come in handy for me. But he's going to bring in the Gengar, as I'm going to reveal to him that I have a Starmie. Even if he did want to go for the Dragon Dance after +1, I'm pretty positive I can take a bounce, and I could be able to knock him out with Thunderbolt. And this turn, predicting him to switch into Jirachi, I'm going to make a double switch into my Swampert. And normally Jirachi shouldn't be able to do anything to Swampert, especially if this is a specially defensive set, which I am pretty positive about, which means I can freely get up my Stealth Rocks. And now, once I spin away the rocks with Starmie, I will be in a very good position because I will have an advantage of me having up hazards and him having up none. Although I still have not seen his last, as he actually brings in his last, which is Gengar, which automatically tells me that, again, once I get rid of the hazards, I will have a good advantage in this battle. But at this point, I'm just going to leave in my Metagross basically for fodder. Now, yes, he does still have Breloom, which can put something else to sleep on my team, but I'm really not too worried about it because I want to be able to get rid of this Gengar because I know that Gengar is a threat. So I'm hopefully going to try to get off as much damage as I can with the Bullet Punch, as I do get off a pretty good amount of damage. And he's not going to go for the Shadow, he's not going to go for the Substitute, and he's just going to go straight for the Shadow Ball, which is a good play. And I'm going to bring in my Scizor, and I thought that the Bullet Punch was way too obvious, but he makes a very, very good play. Knowing that I would U-turn in pursuit, he's actually going to stay in and go for the Focus Blast, getting off a good amount of damage on my Scizor, which is actually going to kind of hinder how I'm going to play with it, because I need to spin away those hazards if I want to be able to get some good use out of my Scizor. So he's going to U-turn on my Swampert, and U-turns out into the Breloom, and I know Breloom can do nothing to me, so I'm going to go for the Roar on the off chance that he maybe wanted to go for a Substitute or a Leech Seed, and Team Player is going to be my sleep fodder for the time being, unless I have to fodder it off later on in the battle, which hopefully I don't. And I know even if he does make the Substitute, that if he does go for Leech Seed or the Focus Punch won't be doing entirely too much, and then I'll be able to get rid of the Leech Seed with the Rapid Spin. So I knew my best play in this situation was to go for the Rapid Spin, and I'm able to get that advantage that I've been wanting to get throughout this whole battle. With me having rocks up on his side of the field, his team will be taking residual damage every switching, as where my team can freely switch out as much as I please for it to do so. And I'm just going to say and try to get off a bit of damage on the Jirachi so I can force him to go for a Wish, allow me to get a free switch into my Infernape. But because he actually paralyzed my Starmie, I know that he more than likely is going to go for the Iron Head. So what I'm going to do is make a bit of a risky play, because if he did go for another Body Slam, that really would have been bad for me. But with me having Gengar around, I knew he possibly wouldn't do that. So I knew Infernape should have been a safe switch in. As he did go for the Iron Head, I am then going to go for the Flamethrower as I get a burn on the Gyarados, which I'm not entirely too sure how much it matters, because I mean I do have the Grass Knot, and I'm able to take him out, but who knows, maybe he could have like barely lived or something. And as he brings in the Jirachi, I forgot to change Flamethrower to Fire Blast, and he's going to be able to just barely live as he goes for the Body Slam. Luckily, he does not paralyze me, allowing me to take him out the following turn with another Flamethrower. And even if he did paralyze and take out my Infernape, I could have just brought in my Gengar, gone for Shadow Ball, and taken out the Jirachi, so it really wasn't too big of a deal. As he brings in the Scizor, I really have no more use for my Infernape, so I'm just going to leave it in for fodder. As his turn, I can get a free switch into my Scizor, and I know I should be able to live a Bullet Punch, so what I'm going to do is actually go for the Superpower on the off chance that he did want to stay in, trying to finish me off with the Bullet Punch, but he does make a safe switch into the Breloom, and with my Swampert being asleep, I know that his best play to go for is going to be the sub or the lead seed, so what I'm going to do is go for another Superpower, but he makes a bit of an odd play by going for the Focus Punch, which really isn't too big of a deal. And looking at the HP that Breloom is at, maybe my Scizor could have finished him off with another Superpower, but I knew just bringing in my Gengar was a safer play that I could have done. And even if he wants to bring in Scizor, I'm still going to get off a decent bit of damage with the Shadow Ball, so I wasn't too worried about that. And to take out the Breloom, with Scizor being his last, I do still have my Swampert and my Starmie, so I know that if he does take out my Scizor with the Bullet Punch, I should be able to finish him off with Swampert or Starmie, or maybe even both. Luckily though, I do just barely live the Bullet Punch on 2%, and I'm able to knock him out with the Superpower, and that's going to be the 3-0 victory in my favor. So yeah, that was definitely a fun game, and I really hope you all enjoyed. Now, that question that I wanted to ask you guys is, which generation do you think takes more predicting? Because I've heard a lot of people argue about this. Some say that 5th gen takes more prediction just because you know your opponent's team. Some people say 4th gen takes more prediction because you don't know your opponent's team. And me personally, I'm kind of torn between the two of them, but I guess maybe 4th gen. Then again, I might just be saying that because this is me getting back into 4th gen since Black and White came out. But yeah, I would really want to know what you guys think. So please leave a comment down below on which generation you think takes more prediction and why. But yeah, with that, if you did enjoy the battle, make sure to leave a like. Feel free to leave a comment of the battle or of the question I asked, or even both. And if you did enjoy this video, feel free to subscribe if you are not. With that, enjoy the rest of your night, enjoy the rest of your day, and I am out of here. Later, everybody.